Welcome Pisces, this is your monthly reading for the month of June 2021. But before we begin, I want to let you know that I do daily video horoscopes, weekly video horoscopes, monthly video horoscopes, and monthly sun sign, rising sign video horoscopes. And you can watch them on my channel or you can watch them on my website called www.realmofastrology.com. And before we begin, do hit the subscribe button. All right. Now, before I talk about the month of June, I do want to mention that we are in a very special time right now. We are between eclipses. There was an eclipse on May 26th, and there will be an eclipse on June 10th. So, this period until then is very karmic. Destined events can take place. You may receive information, you may receive some insights, and eclipses can be life changing as well. They can bring life changing events. So as we enter the month of June, we are in a very powerful energy, we are in a very potent energy, we are in a very karmic energy. Now let's talk about the month of June. So on June 1st, we have the sun and the north node meeting up, okay, and this is happening in your fourth house, Pisces. What does this mean? For the past 11 days or so, the sun has been transiting your 11th house, which means matters connected to your deepest emotions, your family, your home, your foundation, your roots, your ancestors is coming to light, is being illuminated. Okay, and when the north node is next to any planet, it energizes it. So it's energizing the sun. So these areas in your life are being illuminated more powerfully than they otherwise would when the sun and the north node conjunct on June 1st. And the sun north node conjunction will also magnify, will also energize your soul, your identity, who you are, your consciousness as well. Okay, and before we move on, Pisces, I do want to mention that a lot of the planets right now are in Gemini and they are in your fourth house, which means I'm going to constantly throughout the video talk about family, foundation, your deepest emotions, your roots, your ancestors, these issues, because everything right now, not everything, but majority of the planets are in your fourth house. Okay, so that'll be the theme of the month. I'm going to keep saying it simply because the planets are concentrated in one sign at the moment. Now, moving on to June 2nd, two things happen on June 2nd. The first is that Venus will change signs, which means it will change houses. And we'll talk about that. And the second is that we will go through the last quarter square of the moon. Now, let's talk about Venus first. Venus, as you can see on the chart, is in the fourth house right now. Today, it will move in from your fourth house to your fifth house. And for the past 20-25 days or so, Venus has been giving you blessings, giving you gifts connected to your home, to your family, to your foundation, to your emotions, the deepest emotions you have, and your roots and ancestors. And now, as it moves into your fifth house on June 2nd, it will start to bless and give you gifts connected to romance, connected to pleasure, connected to children, hobbies, creativity. And it will also make you more receptive to these areas till June 27th, till it changes signs again. So that's the first thing that's happening on June 2nd. Now let's talk about the second thing that's happening, Pisces, on June 2nd. The second thing is the last quarter square of the moon, and it's when the sun and the moon make their last 90-degree angle before the new moon, which will happen on June 10th or 11th, depending where you're at. Now, this is the point where we begin to let go, where we release things. Okay, and this process is subtle, it's subconscious, and it can last the whole week. And what are you releasing? What are you letting go of, Pisces? You're releasing and letting go of the new beginning, the new cycle, the new lunar cycle that started on May 11th with the new moon in Taurus. And in general, that was a new beginning in our self-worth, skills, values, and finances. And for you, Pisces, it was in your third house, which meant it was a new beginning for you in terms of communication, in terms of your mind, in terms of your immediate environment, in terms of your surroundings. All right. And now you're assessing, what about that new beginning can come with me to the next month? What's working, what's not working, what do I need to release? So that's what's going to happen for the next 1 week till June 10th. Moving on to June 10th, we have the new moon solar eclipse on June 10th. And a solar eclipse is a big deal. Eclipses stay with us, eclipse energy stays with us for at least 6 months, if not years. Now, what is an eclipse and what is a new moon solar eclipse? Okay, so a new moon is when the sun and the moon are together. Now, this happens at 19 degrees of Gemini, the new moon in Gemini. And it's an eclipse when it's next to the nodes, in this case, the North Node. And eclipses are karmic spots. These are destined spots. So during, like, around eclipse time, you can receive information, events can take place that are destined to happen, and an eclipse can put you where you're meant to be. Okay, so that's an eclipse. But a new moon solar eclipse is a new beginning, because a new moon is a new beginning, and this is a powerful new beginning because it's an eclipse. And what are you beginning? You are beginning something connected to your deepest emotions, to your home, to your family, to your foundation, to your psychology, even to your roots, to where you come from. It's a new beginning in that area of your life. You're sowing the seeds in that area of your life right now on this new moon solar eclipse in Gemini, Pisces. Now I want to talk about June 11th. So I'm going to use this chart to talk about June 11th. Two things are happening on June 11th. The first is that Mars is going to change signs. From your 5th house, it's going to come into your 6th house. For the past 40 days or so, Mars has been re-energizing, reinvigorating, replenishing your 5th house of love, romance, creativity, children, hobbies, pleasure, and now it's going to do the same in terms of your job, your health, your day-to-day routine, your habits. Okay, for the next 40 days or so. And the second thing that happens on June 11th, let me clean up the chart a little bit, Pisces, before we get to that. Second thing that happens on June 11th is that the Mercury and Sun meet up, Mercury retrograde and the Sun meet up, and this could be a message of sorts, a realization of sorts, and it could be very well connected to the past, and it could be very well connected to your deepest emotions, your home, your family, your foundation, your roots. So these are the two things that happen on June 11th. And on June 14th, we have the most important astrological event of the year, and it is the Uranus Saturn Square. This energy will stay with us all of 2021 and even next year. But today, on June 14th, these planets come exact, which means this energy is at its peak today. And I'll tell you what that energy is. But before that, let me tell you a little bit about what you're going through in terms of Saturn and Uranus. And sorry about that. And where they are in your chart. Okay, give me a moment. Okay. So Saturn has been transiting your 12th house, okay? And it has been in your 12th house since December of 2020. Saturn demands us to work hard. It puts the matters connected to that house in order, so to speak. And we have to work hard. And wherever Saturn is transiting, the process connected to those areas in our life does not feel very easy. So it's in your 12th house, which means Saturn is closing out some chapters in your life. Saturn is closing out the past, because 12th house is the past, and it's also changing up your subconscious thinking. So this is what Saturn has been working on since December of 2020. And Uranus has been in your 3rd house, Pisces. The third, and Uranus will stay in your 3rd house for almost 7 years, beginning 2019. It has been in your 3rd house since 2019. And Uranus is an energy that will get rid of anything that prevents you from being you, that prevents you from coming into your own. And it may also bring things into your life that will help you be you. And this energy, the Uranian energy, is sudden, it's unexpected, it can even be shocking. And Uranus has been getting rid of things, getting things in your life connected to your communication, connected to your immediate environment, connected to your peer group, so that you can be you. Okay, these are the two things that you're going through separately. And what happens when these two planets make a square? First of all, this energy happens rarely. The last time we had this was in the year 2000, so almost 21 years ago. So it's a rare event that we are going through. And this energy in general is about getting rid of old things, old structures, old thought patterns, old anything, and embracing the new. It's also about being you, being your authentic self. So, for you, Pisces, the area where this battle between the old and the new, this tug of war between the old and new will happen, will be your subconscious mind, your spirituality, perhaps even the past that you carry with you, and your mind, your logical mind, the rational mind, communication, immediate environment, siblings, peer group. This is where this transit will focus on in your life, Pisces. Now moving on to June 17th. We have the first quarter square of the moon on June 17th, and that is when the sun and the moon make their first square since the new moon, which happened on June 10th. Okay, now this is the point where you may face some obstacles that you will need to overcome, some challenges, some adjustments you may need to make, or some changes you may need to make. And this is connected to the new beginning that started for you on June 10th with the solar eclipse in your fourth house, which was a new beginning in your family, in your home, in your foundation, in your deepest emotions. And you can be changing, making that change, making that adjustment, overcoming that obstacle or challenge all week. So that's the energy. And on June 24th, we have, let me go back because there are two more things I want to talk about before I talk about the full moon in Capricorn. So what are those two things? What are those two things? The first is the sun. Let me clean up the chart a little bit and then we'll talk about it. Okay, so the sun right here will change from Gemini to Cancer. From your fourth house, it will enter your fifth house, which means for the past 30 days up until June 20th, it has been illuminating matters connected to your home, your family, your foundation, your deepest emotions, and now it will begin to illuminate matters of love, romance, pleasure, creativity, all these things, hobbies, all these things. Okay, so that's the first thing. Then on June 20th, Jupiter will go retrograde. Now let me talk about Jupiter for a moment to give you some context. Jupiter is the most benefic planet of the zodiac. It brings with it gifts. And whichever house it's transiting in that area of your life, it will bring those gifts. And Jupiter stays in a house for about a year or so, and it re-enters a sign after about 12 years because it takes 12 years to go around the zodiac. Now, Jupiter has been in your 12th house till May 13th. Okay? It has given you gifts, it has blessed you in your subconscious mind, in maybe how you looked at the past. It also gives healings and it also brings with it lessons. So something connected to your subconscious mind, spirituality, the past, all these areas have been blessed. You have been replenished, or you have learned lessons in those areas. And now Jupiter has come into your first house, which means Jupiter will give you gifts connected to you, how you present yourself, who you are, how the world sees you, your identity. And that'll happen over the next year. However, on June 20th, Jupiter will go retrograde, which means the lessons associated with Jupiter will ease off. And now we'll receive the rewards for learning those lessons. Okay, and this is connected to your subconscious mind. This is connected to your spirituality. This is connected to the past in some way, because the past is closing out. Perhaps it's the closing out of the past as well. It is also connected to your identity, who you are, how you present yourself, your leadership skills. So it's going to give you rewards for the lessons you've learned in these areas, and it will also continue to give you gifts in these areas. So that's June 20th. Now on June 22nd, Mercury comes direct, okay? Mercury has been retrograde since May 29th. I believe Mercury is right here. And since then, when Mercury is retrograde, we may not Communication definitely suffers, gadgets can malfunction, but mentally also we may not be at our best. Confusion can happen, and it is a time where we review things from the past. And this for you, this review could be very well connected to your home, family, foundation, deepest emotions, and your roots. And now, as Mercury goes direct, the forward movement in those areas of your life will begin again. The review process will stop. The forward movement will begin. And that happens on June 22nd, Pisces. Now moving on to June 24th. This is the full moon in Capricorn. Okay, it's happening in 3 degrees of Capricorn, and it's right here. Okay, a full moon is when the sun and the moon oppose each other like this, and this energy can feel stressful. Why? Because the sun, which is our identity, which is our soul, which is our consciousness, is at odds with our emotions, which is the moon. So they're opposing each other. However, although the energy is stressful, it's also the night where we see things clearly. And it's also the point where things culminate, where things complete themselves, where we release things of the past. And what are we culminating, completing, seeing clearly at this point, Pisces? There are 2 things, okay? Now, the first is connected to the new moon that happened on June 10th or 11th, depending on where you were at. So the new beginning that you had on June 10th, connected to your family, your foundation, your deepest emotions, all those areas, you're able to see clearly what that new beginning was. You're able to say, okay, that's what happened back then. That's what began for me back then. I see clearly now. And something connected to that cycle will be completed in a way. Okay? So that's one. And the second thing goes back to Jan of 2020. Now, what happened in Jan of 2020, Pisces? So, one second, let me clean this up so you can see clearly. Okay, there we go. What happened? The Saturn and Pluto met up. Okay, they conjuncted at 22 degrees of Capricorn, and this conjunction happens once in 33 to 38 years. It's a rare event. And when they meet up, especially when they meet up in Capricorn, they change things very powerfully. And for you, that change, Pisces, happened in your 11th house. Okay? And what that means is it changed your social circle. It changed your hopes, goals, and dreams in a very powerful way. And now, no, not now. And then before we talk about today, in Jan 2021, that change that began in Jan of 2020 came alive, became more visible, became more real. And now on June 24th, you will be able to see completely clearly what that change was. And that cycle in itself is complete. But we will be in this energy, the Saturn-Pluto conjunction energy, till 2053, till these 2 planets meet again in your sign in Pisces. But that's what we're able to see clearly. And for you, Pisces, this full moon is in your 11th and 5th house. Now, the areas that this full moon is highlighting for you are connected to your social circle, your hopes, goals, and dreams, and scientific innovation as well, and technology if you are into that. And it's also bringing to light love, romance, children, hobbies, all these things. So that's June 24th for you, Pisces. Now let me talk about 2 more things before we pick a card for you, Pisces. The first happens on June 25th, and it's connected to Neptune, your ruling planet. Now, Neptune has been in your sign, in the sign of Pisces, since 2011. And since then, it's been transiting your 1st house. And wherever Neptune is, 2 things can happen. One, we may feel extremely confused. We may not be able to see things clearly. Or it could, through the matters of that house, help us develop universal love and compassion. And that feeling can be magical. So Neptune's been in your 1st house, meaning that matters connected to you, your identity, who you are, how you present yourself, either you've been confused about it, either you've not been able to see those very clearly, or through those matters, you've connected to the higher realm. Through that, you've been able to develop universal love and compassion. And why am I talking about Neptune right now? Because on June 25th, Neptune will go retrograde, which means the confusion will begin to lift off. If you've been confused, that is. And you'll be able to see things more clearly. And also, Neptune retrograde will bring with it rewards if you've done the Neptunian work, which is about developing universal love and compassion. So that's June 25th. And the last astrological thing that I want to mention happens on June 27th, and Venus right here will move from your 5th house to your 6th house, which means from making you more receptive and giving you blessings in matters of love, in matters of romance, in matters of children, hobbies, creativity, pleasure. It's going to give you blessings and make you more receptive to your job, to your health, to your day-to-day routine, to all these areas, to your habits even. And that was a quick astrological overview for the month of June for you, Pisces. And now I am going to pick an oracle card for you to give you the energy of the month, okay? Let me shuffle a little first. Okay, no. Shall we go with this one since it was flipped on its own? And it says building blocks. And you can see the card on the screen, and you're building something right now, Pisces. You're building something very carefully, piece by piece. And I think you've built a lot of it. Whatever you've been building, you've built the major chunk of it. And I think you are left with a few final pieces. So you're going to be building in the month of June, Pisces, piece by piece, and it's a solid structure. She's standing on it and she's supported. It's not going to crumble, whatever you're building. And this is something I believe you've been working on for quite some time. Firstly, because you've built so much of it. Secondly, because you see how she's looking like this. It's a long-term thing. She's looking into the future. She's looking far away. It's not something for the short run. It's something for the long run that you've been building, Pisces. And I think you're almost complete. And you'll build more in the month of June. So continue building. And if you think this video is helpful, do share it with your Pisces friends. And if you liked it, do hit the subscribe button. And I will see you guys next time. Bye.